certainly do. And you look at, there's a lot of different brands of coffee that are available, but Starbucks has really set itself apart from the competition, largely because Starbucks is all about connections, community, the baristas, the way they treat you. All of it is consistent with who Starbucks is. And then the third one that we'll talk a little bit about is Apple. And Apple, it's pretty interesting because I have 3 children that are in software development, all of whom tell me that Apple's products are actually not as good as other products like Samsung and Google. Yet Apple has really dominated the computer scene. So I'm just looking on my desk. I have my Apple iPad, I have my iPhone, and my computer is an Apple Pro Mac. So I have 3 products right here and a whole bunch more. And so they have really cut out a niche by being the company that's about not kind of bucking the trends, being creative, being a little bit different. So you want to start to think about, how do you portray what you do, your company or yourself, in a way that is very different from everybody else, because that's what's going to set you apart and give you that competitive edge. So how do you get started? So that's really where we want to start. So, and if you already have a brand, you can always update a brand. If you don't feel like you have a brand, then you really want to start from scratch. But the one thing I would say about your brand is, when you create it, you want to think about it like you're getting married. Not to say you can't get divorced, you can get divorced, but you want to really go into it like this is going to be your brand for the rest of your life. Again, I think the Nike brand has been around for at least 30 years. Another iconic brand is McDonald's. The Golden Arches have been the Golden Arches since 1945, when Ray Kroc started McDonald's. And I remember when my son was little, couldn't even really speak, but he knew McDonald's just every time we drove by, because those Golden Arches meant, French fries and chicken McNuggets. So, and that brand doesn't change. That look has always been the same. Their taglines might change and the promotions might change, but the basic brand is always the same. And if you've traveled anywhere outside of the US, you go to a McDonald's anywhere in the world, it's the exact same experience as the McDonald's here in Albuquerque or Las Colinas or wherever you are. So crafting a unique brand personality is really the way that you're going to communicate your brand in such a way that like-minded people, the people who resonate with what you do, will readily connect with you. So the first thing you want to look at is, what's the personality of the brand? And you really want to start to think like, what do I want people to feel when they think about my company? When they think about doing business with me, what is it that you want them to feel? And it's interesting, today we give a Sunny 505 scholarship every year to a UNM communications major. And so the woman that we're awarding the scholarship for in the fall came today to my staff meeting. And afterwards she asked me, she was like, what would you say, the culture of Sunny 505 is? What is it about you that is different from your competitors? And the answer was very simply, we do whatever it takes to produce unprecedented results for our clients. And so I think when people think about me, they think about my company, if they want to get results, we're the firm for them. So you want to start to think about that for you and your service and your business. What is it that you want people to resonate with? And to start with, you really want to give yourself some time to just do a brain dump and just start making a list of every word you can think of, every adjective, everything that you want to be, that you've heard people say about you, and that you intentionally want to convey. And then you want to prioritize those and group those words until you really start to see the personality and the tone of your company crystallized into 3 to 7 words. And you want to keep it simple, because if it's too complicated, and I've often seen this, you'll walk into a business and they have a big thing up on the wall with this 3-paragraph mission statement. If you have to like pull it out of your computer or carry it around on a piece of paper, it's not going to work. So really 3 to 7 words, adjectives, Nike, just do it. You want to think about those kinds of things. Sunny 505 gets results, right? So simple, sweet, that you can easily repeat to anybody, anywhere. So here's some possibilities. And again, this is being recorded. You'll get this, so you can take notes, or you don't have to take notes. but professional, fun, creative, engaging, soulful, friendly, sophisticated, generous, intelligent. So, when I look at Juliet and photography, maybe it's that you're a fun photographer. I know that I hate getting my picture taken probably almost as much as like getting a cavity filled. So for a lot of people, it's really stressful to get their picture taken. So maybe you're a fun photographer. Marie, with your living ministries, I would think soulful is probably a really important word. So you want to just start to, let your brain go, let it rip. You can also, go into the computer and look in the thesaurus and find words that are similar and really start to craft something that is uniquely you. Then you want to look at what change do you hope to make? Because here's the reality. There are 8 million different ways to make money. And of course, we're all in business to make money, but that's not really what drives you. What drives you is the change you hope to make in the world. So you want to start to think about that. It's like, why am I doing this? So Juliet, I'll just keep picking on you because you're an easy one. So, you're a photographer, but that's what you do. Why you do it is a whole different thing. It might be to, capture the best in people, to help people put their best foot forward, to codify the most important moments in somebody's life. Whatever you would say there is, looks like we have somebody in the chat, Chris, if you want to look at that.
Oh, I was just chatting over the recording to everybody.
Okay, sorry. So the first thing to look at is, who is that demographic that you're trying to reach? Is it men? Is it women? Is it teenagers? Are they people in a particular city, state, country, world? And the psychographics, what motivates them? Why do those people choose to buy services like what you're offering? What do those people believe in? What do they stand for? All of those things start to help you crystallize really, why you do what you do. So you want to look at the why, not the what, and not the how. And so often, I'll meet people and it'll be like, hi, I'm Joe Schmo, I'm a CPA. Hi, I'm Bob Jones, I'm a commercial realtor. Hi, I'm so-and-so and I do this. That's what you do. And it's not even so much how you do it, it's why you do it. So the more that you can really encapsulate the why, that's what becomes compelling and becomes the essence of your brand. So for instance, coffee is what Starbucks does. Providing an experience of connection is why Starbucks does what it does. Computers and phones are what Apple does. Inspiring people to think differently is the why. Chris, do we have another chat? Because I see 2 in my little thing.
Oh, one was, yes, Giselle asked Claire. Well, in the Q&A, Giselle just says clarity on branding versus services or branding versus different business entity needs. And there's 2 chats because one goes to just you and one goes to everybody else.
Okay. So Giselle, the question is, would you do a different brand for your service and a different brand for yourself? I'm not quite sure on the question. Why don't we unmute Giselle just for a second and let her ask it?
Sure, Giselle, you're able to speak.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, what I'm thinking about is sometimes when we are multidimensional people, we have different gifts and they're kind of part of our authentic offerings. Are we best served sometimes by having different business entities, or is there a way to actually create an umbrella and some sort of a branding that allows for that diversity of self? That's basically.
That's a great question. And I think you can really have one brand. So let's just look at these 2 that are up on the slide right now. So Starbucks, they offer a lot of different things. They have coffee, they have waters, they have snacks, they have food, they have CDs that they sell, they have mugs, right? There's a whole array of things that Starbucks does, but it's all under the Starbucks umbrella. Likewise with Apple, they have computers, they have phones, they used to have iPods, remember those? They have earbuds, they have Apple TV, they have Apple Productions, but it's all under the Apple brand. So I think very much you can encapsulate all of the essence of who you are is your brand, and then you offer different things that all kind of ladder up to that same brand.
Okay.
Great question. Yeah, I love that question. I think about New Mexico True is another great brand I'm sure everybody has seen, which rolled out in 2012. And I mean, I just love seeing, like when I'm traveling Dallas or Denver, and you'll see the big New Mexico True displays in the airports, and they're promoting different cities, but it's all underneath the New Mexico True brand. So yes, absolutely. So you want to be thinking about this as the overall brand, and then you have different services and products, and that can change over time. So, going back to Apple, I remember my very first Apple computer with a floppy disk that went in it. You guys remember those days? I don't know if anybody else is as old as me. And I remember my old iPod mini that I used to love to wear to the gym. All those are gone now, and they're replaced with new things, but it doesn't change the overall brand, which has always been about inspiring people to think differently. So, okay. So next, you want to look at really, what do you stand for? And you create a list of your values, you prioritize those values and group them, and then whittle them down to, I should say, more or less, and write a short sentence for each one that expresses what they mean to you. So, it was really interesting today with this intern who was asking me those very questions. And, one of the key values of my company and of who I am is integrity. If I tell you I'm going to do something, you can go to the bank on that I'm going to do that. And the same with every single person in my company. That's our number one value, is integrity and doing whatever it takes to get the job done for our clients. So you want to start to think about that for you. What are those values? And here's just a laundry list of ones that I brainstormed with myself. And there's probably a million more that you could come up with. But you want to just start to think about what are those things? Obviously, I put integrity first for me because that's the most important. Respect, innovation, teamwork, excellence, customer focus, trust, diversity, accountability, openness, quality, honesty, passion, safety, community, service, collaboration, responsibility, people, commitment, dependability, reliability, loyalty, open-mindedness, consistency, efficiency. So you want to just, and back to you, Juliet, creativity should probably be one here, because, not all photographers are created equal, right? So you just want to start to think about, what are those key words? What are those things that, at your funeral, you want somebody to say, you know what, they were known for this. They lived their whole life true to this. Again, I think about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and I've watched the documentaries on her, and I've seen her many, many times on TV. And it's like, she was always consistent. She never faltered. Who she was a tireless bulldog for equality and for rights for people, right? So yeah, do that exercise with yourself, and then just really, see what resonates and what are those key words for you. And then what's your brand promise? What do you deliver? So your promise is going to be that one thing, maybe two, it's not going to be 17, that you absolutely deliver, that is unique and special to your business. And then what is your how? With our little unicorn here. So, what's your secret sauce? What do you do that your competitors don't? What is it about doing business with you that is so compelling, that's going to keep people coming back over and over and over again? So once you've done this exercise, and I would give yourself some time. If you're crazy busy like me, maybe it's the weekend to really just, turn everything off and think about those things, and come up with what is that essence. And once you do come up with that brand, and that's going to be then your logo, your tagline, however you're going to put that together, the colors that you use, the fonts that you select. So all that ties in with the brand. And, if you're a creative company, then you want to have some creative colors and a creative font. If you're like a CPA, I don't know that we have any CPAs here, but if you're a very conservative business, you'll want something much more conservative, maybe a dark blue and a very kind of bold font. But once you come up with it, you want to incorporate that brand across all your consumer touch points. So on your website, on your promotional materials, on your uniforms, if you have uniforms, on your invoices, if you have a vehicle, on your vehicle. And then the most important thing is to develop your 30-second elevator speech to really talk about what you do. Because again, when you meet people and you say, hi, you know, like, so let's just pretend I met you and I said, I'm Joni Griffin, I own an advertising agency. Okay, well, now you're gonna put me in the box of what an advertising agency is, for whatever that is. And if you're interested in advertising agencies, you know, we may continue talking. If you're not, that's the end of that. So instead, you want to say something that really speaks to your brand essence. So what I would say is, I'm Joni Griffin. I'm the owner and founder of Sunny 505, and we always exceed our customers' expectations. And then somebody's going to say, really? How do you do that? Tell me more. So that's what you want to be thinking about, is how do you start a conversation rather than just say something that just ends the conversation, which is what most people do. Most people, when they introduce themselves, they say what they do, not why they do what they do. So that's the other thing that goes with your whole brand. So here's some, you know, brands that have been around for a long time, and then two that have not been around that long. So if you look at Coca-Cola, that's the original Coca-Cola logo, which has been around for, I think, over 100 years now. And there was a brief minute where they tried to rebrand. I think that was in the 90s, and it went horribly. And they went back to the tried and true Coca-Cola. And if you look at Coca-Cola products now, that never changes. McDonald's, this is an interesting one. I went to a workshop once with the chief marketing officer of McDonald's. And not that so many people go into McDonald's anymore. I think more and more we're going to drive-ups. But if you were to walk into any McDonald's anywhere in the world, they make sure that there are 260 McDonald's logos in that immediate vicinity of you walking in, which is just like, you don't even think about how much, that's all in your subconscious. Very deliberate. So the logos on the floor, the logos on the walls, the logos on the menu board, the logos on the cash register, it's on the straws, it's on the napkin holder, it's on the napkins, it's on the coffee cups, it's on the bag, it's in the bathroom. I mean, it's everywhere. And that's how they've been so successful at branding, is it's just in your subconscious mind. And if you're thinking about fast food, McDonald's is #1 over Burger King and Wendy's by a long shot. So it's just been interesting how well they've branded. Same with Nike. Nike's the #1 sports apparel brand in the world. There's others, there's Reebok, there's Adidas, there's a lot of them. But again, that's swoosh. You don't even, if you look at both McDonald's and the swoosh, you don't even need to have the name of the company. You immediately know what that brand is. Amazon. So this is a good question. This is a good answer, Giselle, to your, multiple products. So if you think about Amazon, Amazon first started as a bookseller. If you remember, I think it was probably about 15, 20 years ago, you bought books from Amazon, and they have just grown and grown and grown. Now we buy everything from Amazon, and that logo is always the same. Now on the trucks, they're blue with a purple. They're not so much the black and the yellow, but it's the same logo. And Amazon has totally dominated the retail space now. I mean, they put a gazillion retailers out of business. Airbnb, very new company in the big scheme of companies. Airbnb was started about 12 years ago by 2 tech guys. And interestingly, one of my clients was brought on, he was employee number 5, who he had a custom, a little boutique hotel chain in the San Francisco area. And they brought him on board to help them translate the technology that they came up with into a hospitality brand. And Airbnb now and Vrbo have really changed the way people vacation. And, and what's interesting about Airbnb, and Google is the other one, is they're becoming verbs now. They're so well branded, like, oh, I'll Airbnb, right? We don't say, I'm going to go to Airbnb and find a place to stay. Oh, I'm gonna Airbnb it. I'm gonna look for an Airbnb. Google, which is a search engine, what do we say? Oh, let's Google it. So it's interesting. They've done such a good job of branding that they have become that brand is in our vocabulary in so many different ways.
And in New Mexico, everything is a Coke. We have a question in the Q&A. How does
we're at Q&As right now? Perfect.
How does industry impact branding trends.
So who's the question from? And it's
Giselle.
Giselle, you're my plant. So let's talk a little bit about what industry trends are you thinking about?
Well, I've been a service provider in the healing arts
Yeah.
and dealing with spiritual services, you could say, also, and music services.
Okay.
So I know that oftentimes, I've been in other professional development, sessions where it's widgets and squidgets, and it's not so soft touch. It's different
Yeah.
kinds of industries. And so some now things are more mainstream for some of these areas.
Yeah, definitely.
But I know it's a different flavor, and what sometimes I get told really just is not congruent with the vibe that I am trying to project.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering your perspective on, where is that line of what works for everyone and what is specific to, a type of industry that you might have other considerations.
Yeah, I think you always first and foremost have to be true to yourself. So you don't want to just bend your company into something that's going to fit in the mainstream if that's not who you are. So it's not that there's a right and a wrong way to do it. It's really what resonates with you, because it's your brand and it's what you want people to say about you and your company when you're not there. So, the masses may or may not be your audience. So, I don't think you have to just go with what's hip and hot right now. You've got to look at, why are you doing what you're doing? And just as an example, when I started my business 32 years ago, I looked out at the market, and back then there was a handful of advertising agencies in New Mexico, and they were all focused on the big fish. So the banks, the hospitals, we didn't have casinos then, but car dealers, everybody wanted the multi-million-dollar ad campaign. And I looked out there and I was like, wow, 85% of businesses in New Mexico are small businesses with fewer than 5 employees. Nobody's serving them. And so that's how I built my business. So I branded myself as being the agency for small businesses, and it really worked for us. So if a multi-million-dollar account came knocking on my door, I'm really not the right firm for that, because that's not what we specialize in. So Giselle, I think, you can look at who you are, what you want to provide, who is that target audience. And then that really is the way you set up your brand. And there's plenty of business in all those different buckets. And I always tell people, we get so caught up in, we got to we got to make the right decision. And I always look at, it's not right and wrong, it's left and right. And one takes you down one path and one takes you down the other path. And either way is perfect. It's just what's going to work for you. I think we had another question, Chris.
We have one in the Q&A. It says, I have already been branded as old school, as I'm trying to bring back the theme high quality prompts with prints and memories and frames. Same with portraiture. Back to high quality imagery and away from phone.
Yes.
So that's just a comment from Juliet. Juliet, I'm going to allow you to speak if you want to elaborate on that.
Please,
And then Ronnie.
Juliet. Oh, Juliet, you're muted if you're talking.
Go. Sorry. Okay.
There you go.
There we go. Sorry about that. I was unmuting, but anyway, blah, blah, blah. Okay. In Colorado, the Boulder, Denver area, we built our brand on very high quality photography, especially with proms, homecomings, and the high school market.
Yep.
With hand painted theme backdrops, on canvas. And so I'm trying to bring that back here,
Yes.
now, and I'm just, God, I'm just scratching the surface. And it's the same thing, having people come to my studio, for portraits. You have people jumping out of the window, quitting photography because they can't make a living, so I have an uphill battle, I know. So how do I change the psychology? That a phone, yeah, it does okay, but there's thousands of pictures of you in your phone. We want to take imagery and put them in frames. Create a memory that's
Exactly. And I love that. So I wouldn't say it's old school. It's really bringing out the best of an event or of a family.
Mhm.
And yes, of course, we can all take pictures on our iPhones, we can take selfies, and that's great, and they're great for sharing on Instagram. But when you really want to have the, just an emotional, evocative portrait that hangs in your house, I'm your person, something along those lines. I mean, I'm just kind of brainstorming right now, but I think there's a market for it. And here's the thing, if you think about, let's just think about clothes for a second. There's Walmart and there's Nordstrom. Both sell clothes, very different brands. Walmart is, guaranteed low prices, and that's what you want, right? If you're going to go shop at Walmart, it's not going to be the best quality, but it's cheap. If you're going to go to Nordstrom, it's going to be expensive and it's going to be a higher quality. Both sell clothes, very different markets. So, your market, Juliet, is not going to be the Walmart shopper. Your market is going to be the Nordstrom shopper, people who really want high quality. And there's a market for it.
How do I reach that? No, I agree. And the same thing, like I got my first theme prom at the Academy,
Yes.
which was like, whoa, let's start at the top and
Yep.
see if we can go from there. And I drug these 80 backdrops around from Colorado. I mean, heavy, each one of these is like 30 pounds. And I believe in it. I believe in it passionately. But getting people to listen, getting people to hear me, and open their minds is really hard. So I need some help with that.
So that should be an offline conversation, because that's really more about marketing, so more than branding, because you want to make sure you're getting your message out to the right audiences.
Mhm.
So, you're going to be looking at a higher income market predominantly, like the people who go to the Academy. Perhaps Santa Fe might be another good market for you. Taos might be another good market for you. And there's ways to get your messages out to those people. And there's plenty of people who really want a great family portrait. And it's different than what you get on your phone.
Right. Okay. And the other thing is, like, how do you break into high schools? Okay, I've broken into the Academy now.
Yep.
Do I just stick with Pius? Do I even try to go to public schools? How would you? I know, and this is marketing, and
I would again look at the higher income schools. So definitely the private schools, La Cueva, El Dorado. I hate to be so, but you're going to go to those pockets where there's more high income people, Corrales, Santa Fe, etc.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Other questions? We have a few more minutes.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more. Ronnie, if you want to speak, you're more than welcome to.
Ronnie.
Thank you. So I guess one of the things that I wanted to say is that I feel like I'm trying to get into a couple of niches, not trends, because I do think they're different.
Yes.
Can you just elaborate on that? Because I do think like niches is baby boomers.
Yes.
To me. Niches is the tiny home people that like to live in tiny homes.
Yeah.
So just I'd like you to kind of elaborate on.
I would say, a niche is going to be your target audience. So again, my niche has been small businesses, government entities, and nonprofit organizations. So the more clear you can be on who you're trying to reach, the better, because you're not going to try to be all things to all people. And trends can inform that, but trends come and go. Oh, hearing some noise. So, but tiny homes, just as an example, is a trend that's probably here to stay for a while. And you've probably got a whole bunch of different niches that are going to be interested in tiny homes. There might be different reasons. So a retiree might want a tiny home because they really want to downsize and not spend so much money on their home costs. And a millennial might be interested in a tiny home because they're more environmentally conscious and they don't want to take up a lot of space and it's less expensive. So you can kind of look at trends to inform the various niches that you're going to go after. Hope that answered that for you, Ronnie.
I actually muted you, Ronnie, because of the background noise. So if you want to talk, unmute yourself.
That did answer that, and I appreciate your comments.
I love tiny homes too, by the way. I think that's a trend. You know, I remember when Airbnb first started and I thought it was the stupidest thing. So this is me as a boomer. You know, it was like, yeah, people, I don't want to sleep on someone's couch and you're not going to know what their houses are like. And this is stupid. Well, look at where Airbnb is today. Okay, everybody Airbnbs. So, you know, I think tiny homes are going to, if that's something you're considering, Ronnie, for your business, I think that would be awesome. And I can tell you, as somebody who is nearing retirement age, my girlfriends and I talk a lot about, wouldn't it be great to have a tiny home compound, you know, where we all have our houses, but we all help one another. So I think there's going to be a lot of different paths that the tiny homes go. So next steps, I just want to remind everybody that go to the New Mexico SBDC for further training. I mean, it's so great that we have these resources. And Chris, thank you so much, because you know, I haven't done business in other states, but I'm always so impressed with how much we have here to help one another. And I think as a business community, we all want to see each other grow. And the more we grow, the more the whole state grows. So there's other trainings. There's, again, that business counseling, loan applications, assistance to all kinds of programs. You're also going to receive a survey after this presentation. And so, you know, please take time to answer it, because it's going to help score in the SBDC plan for future presentations. And I'm at Sunny 505. I'm of course available too, if anybody has questions or comments or anything you want to know that I can help you with. And with that, I really appreciate everybody taking some time this afternoon. And I hope the rest of your day goes great. And I soon start seeing everybody's brands out there. Chris, anything you want to say in closing?
I just want to promote our upcoming QuickBooks Online webinar. It's a free QuickBooks Online webinar taught by our director at Clovis Community College. And if you want to sign up for that, it's available on our website and it fills up fast, and we'd love to have you there. I want to thank you for the wonderful presentation, and I'm available for any more questions if you have any. No, I don't see any questions. I know we want to end by 2:45, so it's almost there. Again, thank you for the presentation. I'm going to stop the recording.